pounds, shillings and pence became a thing of the past. Grown men wore makeup for their musical art. The Queen let her hair down with a Jubilee hoedown, and an American president, not for the last time, said, "I didn't tell a lie." Welcome to the disco pulsating punk pogo dancing 1970s.
That we want to say, happiness is just a state of mind. Flashback to the days when the nights were young. Flashback when we could do no wrong. Flashback we used to dance till the light of dawn. Flashback when our hearts were so strong. Yeah.
So we leave the revolutionary 60s, but what have we here in the serious 70s? No, be positive, it wasn't that bad. Okay, it wasn't as scary as the 60s, and it all got a bit adult. We found ourselves revisiting places we'd already been. That is, apart from music, where there was the mother of all punch-ups between two musical extremes. In the blue corner, we had the tight-fitting, show-your-lunch-off flares of disco, the pulsating new music phenomenon that had us all taking off our white jackets and gyrating them round our heads under strobe neon-coloured lighting. In the red corner, punk rock. If the world thought rock and roll was the spawn of Satan, they now knew it had well and truly arrived. Ding ding! Seconds out. And you could call the 70s the first modern decade. Space Invaders, the first VHS, and decimalisation, when a lot of very old ladies got all confused and an equal amount of shopkeepers made a few extra quid by rounding up the infamous halfpenny in their own favour. On the political stage, the IRA was our biggest terrorist threat since Guy Fawkes. We went from a confused, rudderless Conservative government to the lady who was not for turning, Margaret Thatcher. And in the world arena, well, Watergate showed us that even presidents, just like the rest of us humans, do tell the occasional porky pie. And the numbing war in Vietnam that swamped our screens came to its inevitable, fruitless and pointless end, proving, not for the first time in the century, that in a war, no one wins. So, not the raciest and certainly not the jolliest of decades, but it still had its surprises. Let's go for a quick romp. So the decade has gone down in history as one of varied music influences, but the biggest battle royal was between disco and punk. Where it came from is down to who you want to listen to. However, there are always two names that crop up, Malcolm McLaren and Vivienne Westwood. Whatever they set out to achieve, they did it in spades. Punk was the loudest and most controversial, in-your-face, irreverent music genre the world had ever been exposed to. Glam rock had us all smiling and singing along. Punk had us leering, shouting, sweating, pogoing and headbanging. It exploded into our consciousness sometime around 1976, proclaiming a return to hard rock roots. You couldn't get further away from the bubblegum niceties of the early 70s music scene. It also gave the youth an outlet for the angst and trauma caused by the three-day-a-week, recession and political incompetence. This heavy, fast-paced, repetitive music was matched by equally unappealing band members. They were deliberately anarchic and unattractive, with such fashion items as safety pins through their ears, torn leather jackets, and spiky hair that took a good pound of beef dripping to keep standing erect. Abusive, intolerant and opinionated, bands like the Sex Pistols, The Clash, The Damned and Susie and the Banshees thrashed their way through the 1970s, gigging at dingy venues, preaching anti-establishment values, and not even attempting to disguise their lack of musical training. Whoa! Punk had the same energy and impetus as original 1950s rock and rollers, who also believed it was better to burn out than to fade away. And punk was also dead keen to take the codfish out of the establishment. So whatever you think about punk, it was the last real, we haven't nicked this youth revolution. By the end of the decade, though, the publicly foul-mouthed and constantly scruffy bands had more or less disintegrated, often due to drug addiction or suicide, and new wave took over. And the angry youth of the era stopped swearing on telly and slagging off the Queen. They took out the safety pins, bought a synthesizer and got a proper haircut. And that's called musical progress. But just as punk started to bash the music industry's brains in, a new and almost gentler type of sound started to filter through from Miami, LA and San Francisco. Because for a lot of teen music fans, punk was just too hardcore. So, in retaliation, they looked for music to strut their funky stuff to. A music culture where you could dress up and, more importantly, chat up. And they found it in the swinging beats and groovy tunes of disco. Derived from the French word discotheque, disco music actually began as a dance craze in the gay clubs of America. The demand for more cheerful, up-tempo music was never higher, and groups like the Bee Gees and ABBA gave the masses exactly what they wanted. Easy, comfortable and sentimental tunes along with catchy dance numbers that had your feet tapping and your head nodding to the beat like one of those dogs in the back of a Vauxhall Viva. The 1950s saw the death of the big band. The 70s put the coffin lid on live dance music forever. Artists like the Bee Gees revived their fast-failing careers by making the disco style their very own, and getting involved in a low-budget little film called Saturday Night Fever didn't hurt them much either. Disco was everywhere, like some insidious musical epidemic. Even giants and geniuses like David Bowie and Miles Davis experimented with disco rhythms in their work. Record producers just pushed a few buttons, recorded a simple vocal and released the vinyl. The 7-inch, the 12-inch, the disco mix, the LA mix, the cement mix. They made dozens of versions of the same record and sold them all. So, the decade marked the death of live dance music, but the birth of disco spawned all kinds of unlikely offspring. Because if you think about it, John Travolta is sort of like the granddaddy of Eminem, So Solid Crew, and even Steps. So he really has got a lot to answer for. In the early 70s, it was fairly normal to see bright eyeshadow, glittery outfits and 6-inch platform heels on fellas. Glam rock, typified by the likes of The Sweet, Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, Slade and T-Rex, was basically a mix of bubblegum pop and stomping rock, all packaged in outrageous theatricality. Almost exclusively British, glam rock was the trailblazer to punk, and filling our top-of-the-pop screens, it made us question the sexuality, and indeed the sanity, of some of those glitzy, rather strange young men. Mark Bolan and his T-Rex outfit essentially started glam rock with their 1971 release, Electric Warrior. The trashy aesthetic and gender-bending dress sense caught the imagination of other bands, who quickly realised the sales potential in looking peculiar or just plain daft. There was the camp platform feet side of glam rock, but there were those who went deeper with surprisingly sophisticated sounds and lyrics like David Bowie and Roxy music. Bowie showed the world that glam could be arty too with his Ziggy Stardust creation. So, while the US lagged embarrassingly behind with just plain old R&B, we were producing outrageous, foot-stomping, let-your-hair-down stuff. You might even say we were in T-Rex-tasy. But all good and glittery things must come to an end, and by 1975, the silver eyeshadow was beginning to look just a little tired. It was all becoming a bit of a dog's dinner, and new styles were aching to bust on through. Either way, their influence on the next generation was evident in the punk explosion, although it's still difficult to say if punk developed from glam rock or was a furious reaction to its growing mediocrity. Let's face it, either way, it did give us all a great laugh. It's called The Sport of Kings, although personally I think John McCurrick speaks a foreign language, but we've all had a pound in the sweepstake at the office on the Derby or the Grand National, so my next flashback focuses on a sporting legend who came through for punters everywhere on 4 legs. Now, many racehorses have reached near mythical status. Nijinsky, Desert Orchid, Shergar, or Pedigree Chum as he's now known, but there's only one legend of legends, and that's Red Rum.
Crisp still in the lead, but obviously in trouble, with Red Rum closing relentlessly. Fletcher said afterwards the post seemed to be running away from him as he raced towards it. But Red Rum wins after one of the most thrilling finishes in the history of the National.
He ran the Grand National 5 times, winning a record 3 and coming second twice, winning himself a place in every punter's hearts and in the record books. Through Rummy's 10-year career, he carried 24 different jockeys, including old moneybags Lester Piggott.
It looks like Red Rum all the way. Into the straight and nothing to stop Red Rum. Incredibly, Brian Fletcher stands up and waves to the crowd. What a win! 7 lengths in front, with Lascargo second and Charles Dickens third. What can you say? National number 2 for Red Rum, national number 3 for Brian Fletcher. 17 finish out of 42 starters. Horse and rider had made the whole thing look as easy as a walk in the park. The daughter of new course owner Bill Davies bestows the winning sash on Red Rum. And Red Rum's 86-year-old owner, Noel Lemaire, nurses the trophy alongside his gallant horse.
He also had 5 different trainers, but obviously took the disruption in his stride as he notched up 3 flat races, 3 hurdle races and an amazing 21 steeplechase wins. Now his first Grand National win was way back in 1973 when he beat the famous Australian horse Crisp. He came back the following year in even better form and told the racing world, "It's my crown and it's staying with me." Very talented horse, could speak English. Then came the 2 years of successive second places, followed by his final triumph in 1977, where, at the grand old age of 12, he wasn't fancied at all. But boy, perform he did, winning by 25 lengths and turning him into a national hero. Go on, my beauty!
And Red Rum it is. Nothing can stop him now. And he's done it. Red Rum has won his 3rd Grand National. Churchtown Boy 2nd, Eyecatcher 3rd, the Phil Garlick 4th. It's an emotional moment for the whole of Aintree. Tommy Stack, tired but happy, knows he's put Red Rum into the record books for all time. For trainer Ginger McCain, a day he'll never forget.
But Red Rum's hard racing career had taken its toll, and he retired at the respectable age of 15. But that wasn't the last we saw of him. He led loads of parades at Aintree and was always a crowd pleaser at charity events. He also made a guest appearance on the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Awards. He finally passed away in October 95, aged 30, and they buried him at the only place worthy, the winning post at Aintree, a true sporting legend. And if the 50s gave us new towns like Harlow, Stevenage and Basildon, in the 70s we saw a whole new architectural frontier being crossed. I'm talking Milton Keynes, concrete cows and lots of roundabouts.
New town centre of Washington in County Durham, claiming associations with the famous George Washington. You remember the little man with the big axe. Princess Anne arrives for the official opening. Before an enthusiastic crowd, Sir James Steele, Lord Lieutenant of Tyne and Wear, presents the Mayor of Sunderland to Her Royal Highness before starting a tour of the galleries, pedestrian shopping and office complex. In opening the centre, the Princess had said it showed what could be done with imagination to create a new environment in which slag heaps have been turned into parks. The town consists of a number of villages, each with their own centres, but this new centre will provide a place of work and enjoyment for them all. It is now up to the people of Washington, said Princess Anne, to make use of the new facilities.
But you know what? For all Milton Keynes' proud boast of being modern and up to the minute, it really reminds me of one of those ancient Roman towns. Straight lines, a grid system, and all roads lead to Milton Keynes. By the 70s, the government realised that something had gone badly wrong with tower blocks and UK inner cities. So to counter the problem, some bright spark came up with the notion of community centres to try and provide a heart and focus for troubled areas. And what did they build? Well, you'd get a doctor's surgery, a shop or two, maybe a chippy, and, if you were really lucky, a hall with a small stage, which also gave you room for a youth club, somewhere to get teenagers off the streets, out of the bus shelters and into a place where they could play table tennis, sip fizzy drinks, eat bags of crisps and maybe sneak a snog with someone they fancied. I must admit there was a period in the 1970s when there were a lot of worried people walking around. All the good work of the 60s seemed to be being thrown away. Plunging necklines were out, turtlenecks in. Hemlines went the same way as Nixon after Watergate, down. And miniskirts were gone forever in favour of walking tents. My next flashback, flared trousers. Maybe it was all those new drugs on the streets, but let's face it, the 70s will not go down in history as a fashion decade. Kipper ties, cheesecloth shirts, smocks, caftans, platform shoes, all terrible, but none came close to the cringe-worthy trousers of the day. And as far as fashion-conscious youth were concerned, the wider, the better. Charlie's Angels led the way in popularising the wide ends of flares and bell-bottoms, and the sale of tights plummeted, their place taken by those very attractive fashion items, pop socks. The girls were even influencing us blokes. John Travolta wore his famous flared white suit, complete with huge collars and a gold medallion resting on his hairy chest. Over here, the flared trouser was compulsory with your sequined, powder pink, chest-revealing glam rock outfit. Yep. We really did wear clothes like these. Don't turn away. If I've got to watch it, so have you.
And there's a new stamp about the styles for men on the 1970 German fashion scene. It's quite a revolution. German tailors seem determined to merge their cuts with more feminine lines, and they've certainly come up with some distinctive creations. For these youngsters, ties could be losing their appeal. Today, new fashions are catching the attention of trendy youngsters, not only those who want to be ahead of one another, but way ahead of their parents as well. Teenage models went on a romp around London to show off the latest in kids' gear. With clothes like these, they can make grown-up fashions look almost old hat.
And what's really sad is that the Looney Loon pants and balmy bell-bottoms some of us wore in the 70s are now back in fashion with a bang. What a criminal waste of fabric. Mr. Butlin wasn't happy, nor was Mr. Pontin, because they'd controlled our summer holidays for nearly 4 decades, but now there was a new kid on the block. Well, a new country. Ole! Spain. And my next 70s flashback milestone had us all rushing out to buy a bottle of Sun Factor 16. Never a major purchase, if you're being honest, for 2 weeks in Clacton.
Against the background of blue sea and sky, there were special presentations and outings, specially selected accommodation at one of the company's luxury hotels, and every opportunity to savour the sun and the scenery. There was time to look round the busy market, to explore the narrow streets, to swim in pools or in the sea, or simply to lie back and let the world go by.
This was the decade of the package holiday, when we all sang, oh my dear, I'm off to sunny Spain, viva España. But the only thing that changed was that we had to get on a plane and go to a foreign country. Once there, everything was done for you. All you had to do was get yourself to that airport, usually at about 4 o'clock in the morning. From then on, it was just like a holiday camp, but with decent weather, dodgy food, not a proper pint, and an ample opportunity to look a complete plonker.
Hey, son. Hey. Is this for the dirty weekend?
This is the 4-day trip to Ellsbells, if that's what you mean.
Same difference, isn't it?
That's right. It's the same hilarious carry-on team, the same hilarious faces, and a few new ones like Jimmy Logan.
All ready for a wild weekend, eh?
And June Whitfield. Yes, they're all carrying on where they can really carry on.
They've got any sound on that bit.
Abroad.
Wonder Tours especially chose Ellsbells for the perfect holiday weekend because of its wonderful sunshine record.
That's something you can't muck up.
Who else but the carry-on crowd could pack so many gags and so many bags into one trip abroad?
It's easy, no? Thank you.
Join Sid James, Kenneth Williams, Charles Hawtrey, Joan Sims, Bernard Breslaw, Barbara Windsor, Kenneth Connor, Peter Butterworth, Jimmy Logan, June Whitfield, and Hattie Jakes on a Cook's tour of surefire laughs. They're all off on a wonder tour. It's a wonder any of them make it.
11 times in one night.
They're all staying at a crack hotel. And the cracks are fast and furious.
Let him go!
Oh, stop off. Go rescue somebody else.
What a shower they are. What a shambles they create. No wonder the island's called Ellsbells.
It's all brand new. Tables not satin, chairs not satin.
Lavatories not,
Hello, room service.
There is a man in my bar.
Stand in there. Stalkers.
And when I pressed the thing and tried to plug it in,
Fan shot out of it.
why bother to go abroad when you can get it all watching them do it?
It was smashing that, didn't we, love?
Yes, I can honestly say I've never had one quite like it.
Could I have another one, please?
You were met at the airport by someone wearing a blue or a red jacket, which sounds sort of familiar. And even though it was about 5:45 in the morning, they were desperate to get you in the holiday mood with a good old-fashioned British sing-song. The following day, you had to endure the briefing, which was basically an excuse to sell you as many excursions as possible. It was also to tell you what you were going to do for the next fortnight. Not ask you, tell you.
This was the inaugural flight, and the holiday tour company was sending 70 of its attractive girl couriers on the Comet from Gatwick to Mallorca. There are 9 of these aircraft, and the tour operators have already booked over 350,000 seats on flights to 53 destinations this year. The aircraft have been given a gay new decor, and there's pop music to put everybody in the holiday mood. But these girls aren't here for a holiday. They're starting a week's intensive training at the company's special school for couriers, aimed at giving holidaymakers a really professional service. They're taught how to check that hotel facilities are up to the standard required. To get to know each resort intimately, places of interest, the best excursions, the dates of local festivals. Everything, in fact, which will make the visitor feel as comfortable and carefree as possible. Another part of the course includes a practical demonstration as guides, drawing passengers' attention to points of interest in each resort, including its shops, cafes, and night spots. They must also be able to advise holidaymakers where to go at the most reasonable prices. Even how to master this delicate art. And where to find the best souvenirs. After their training, the girls will always be on hand to help. All you need is the ticket. The beaches are waiting.
And the only place to go was the Costa del Sol. It was the Saint-Tropez of the upwardly mobile. Having the new Cortina in the drive and that fortnight in Lorette Del Mar meant you had arrived big time. Ah, the barbecue, where we all made complete and utter idiots of ourselves by trying to drink wine from a strange-shaped bottle about 2 feet away from your gob. And your dad was always the one pulled out to dance the flamenco, so you had to change your name and hide in shame for the rest of the holiday. Remember the excursion to the monastery to buy that local undrinkable liqueur that always seemed such a great idea at the time? It's probably still unopened somewhere at the back of your mum's cupboard. And then there was the obligatory boat trip, the boat trip to the Blue Lagoon. How come there seems to be a blinking blue lagoon on every piece of the Spanish coastline? There must be millions of them. And the must-have souvenir, an authentic Spanish donkey. But just when you thought it couldn't get any better or more sophisticated, on the way home there was a new treat. Duty-free. Cheap fags, cheap booze, and cheap smellies. All you then had to do was spend the next 12 months saving every penny to do it all again. At the very start of the 1970s, man had only just walked on the moon, so it's no surprise that the whole decade was outer space obsessed. And for the very first time, our amusement arcades were full of computer games, out-of-this-world computer games, like Space Invaders and the very first 3D game, Asteroids.
Toys that are unashamedly grown up. Starfire's just one of them at the Amusement Trades Fair at Alexandra Palace. This is where you can see those coin-operated machines that while away the hours on holidays or at fairs, on display to the trade.
Arsenal's goalkeeper, Bob Wilson, gets a tryout as a striker.
That was state-of-the-art in the 1970s, and of course it spawned today's Nintendo, Sega and Sony blockbusters. Now from the small computer screen to the giant cinema screen and one of the biggest films of all time, once again set in outer space, this time though a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was George Lucas's finest hour. It introduced us to Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi and the walking carpet himself, Chewbacca. It was Star Wars!
The attendance at Star Wars has been almost astronomical. Queues are still forming. In America, more money was taken at box offices in 1 week than for the prestigious Jaws. In London, after a month, almost 600,000 flocked to see the film, an all-time record.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. This is Universal's extraordinary motion picture version of Peter Benchley's best-selling novel, Jaws.
I just found out that a girl got killed here last week, and you knew it. You knew there was a shark out there. You knew it was dangerous, but you let people go swimming anyway.
You yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Is it true that most people get attacked by sharks in 3 feet of water, about 10 feet from the beach?
Yeah. What we are dealing with here is a perfect engine, an eating machine.
We're not only going to have to close the beach, we're going to have to hire somebody to kill the shark.
Bad fish, but I'll catch him and kill him.
Did you hear your father? Out of the water now!
This shark, swallow you whole. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
That's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons of them.
Hurry up, he's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now. Don't wait for me. Now! Shoot!
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, Jaws. See it before you go swimming.
From its humble beginning in the 50s, a peculiarly British series of comedy films really hit its peak in the 70s. We are talking Carry On, and they have pride of place in my flashbacks. With their brash, unsubtle humour, the films were basically moving versions of saucy postcards. We were rolling in the aisles to the smutty quips of Sid James, Hattie Jacques, Charles Hawtrey, and of course, my personal hero, Kenneth Matron Williams. The writer was allowed to let his imagination run wild in this decade. His subject matter ranged from 19th century jungle missions through a bit of camping to 70s package holidays. Even the reign of King Henry VIII came under his beady gaze.
She stunk the whole place out with it. Oh, blimey. In it again.
Carry On Henry. A hilarious look back into history at the hits, misses, and mistresses of Henry VIII.
Do you, Henry, take this woman to...
I do, and so does she. Right, love, that's it. Through there.
Not only that, it is said to greatly increase one's sexual appetite.
I got news for you. Come the morning, you're going to be starving. Act the part of a loving husband. Impossible.
Well, perhaps in the meantime you could make some other arrangements, sire?
What other arrangements?
Like taking a mistress?
I am the king with a pride family motto to uphold. Non crepito suum genuum. Never spit on your own doorstep.
Carry On Henry. The Carry On courtiers in a right royal romp around merry England.
Oh, come on, we're not in the ages to look for needles, are we?
Carry On Henry, produced by Peter Rogers and directed by Gerald Thomas, stars Sidney James as King Henry VIII. When he reigns, it usually pours. Kenneth Williams as Cromwell.
There is one thing you haven't touched yet.
Now we're back to the what again?
No, a brand new form of taxation I've just thought up. S-E-T. Sex Enjoyment Tax.
Terry Scott as Cardinal Wolsey.
Oh, Your Eminence.
Charles Hawtrey as Roger de Lodgerley. He never fails to do his duty.
As the King's taster, I have to try everything before he does.
Joan Sims as the Queen Marie, who loves to play games on the bed.
I've done it.
No, you have to tiddle first.
I have tiddled.
That was winking.
Look, when we began, you told me I had to tiddle into the pot.
Kenneth Connor as Lord Hampton of Wick.
There you will be required to sign a confession of your wrongdoings.
Alas, I cannot help that. I was born with the wrongdoings.
Barbara Windsor as Bettina, Lady-in-Waiting. And the best bed he's seen in years.
Oh, I can hardly believe it. Little me in the King's arms.
Well, it's the best boozer in town.
The scene is set, the artists ready, and another moment of England's glorious history goes on to film.
So they call you Bettina?
Yes, most people call me Bet, Your Majesty.
If I'm going to call you Bet, you must call me Madge.
All right, Madge.
Not the kind of boring, dusty stuff that you and I had beaten into us, but history bent to fit the well-tried formula of the cinema's most successful comedy films. Carry On Henry is the title, Sid James is the Merry Monarch.
But you've got plenty of it in Spain, eh?
Oh, no. They never let me be alone with anyone long enough.
Dancing, I mean.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, yes. But it's very different over there, you know. Do you know what it is?
Very different over here.
I was going to say that most of the acting greats have had a go at Henry. Richard Burton, Charles Lawton. What's your Henry got that the others haven't?
I'm really having a go at him. Up to now I'm losing, but still, you can't win them all, can you?
A critic said of your last performance in the Carry On Loving, you'll have to stand this, Sid James can only now leer at a pretty wench because it would be unseemly for him to engage in any other frolics with the opposite sex. What about that, Sid?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He should see me.
Really?
Oh, yes, they queue up outside the dressing rooms. Murder. The fellows, I mean.
But you're the eternal dirty old man in these films, aren't you?
I'm the eternal dirty old man, that's it, you know.
Is that good typecasting?
No, not really. Not really. I'm a car salesman by nature, a jockey by profession, and as far as the birds go, oh, yeah.
Take two.
The well-tried team, including Sidney James and Kenny Williams, Charlie Hawtrey and Joan Sims, are gathered with others of equal skill for the 21st production in a series that the pundits once dismissed until the public proved them wrong.
So they call you Bettina?
Yes, but most people just call me Bet, Your Majesty.
If I'm going to call you Bet, you must call me Madge.
All right, Madge.
You dance very well.
As honestly vulgar as a seaside postcard, the humours as corny as camp can be.
Kenneth Williams, critics call your performances the height of camp in these Carry On films. Now, camp is a misused word today. What is a camp performance?
Well, I believe the word camp has actually found its way into the addenda of the OED.
I beg your pardon?
It's found its way into the addenda of the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, and it's defined there as that which is fundamentally frivolous. And I suppose that's about the nearest you'd get to an academic definition of it. What I think the general, current interpretation of the word is always that which is verging on the effeminate, that sort of thing, which is ludicrous said about me because I personified what you might call the butch element in light entertainment
Indeed.
some time now.
Yes, indeed. Do you enjoy giving these kind of performances?
I think we're here to entertain. That's what we're here to do, to get laughs. And whatever the performances are, I mean, if I'm asked to say lines on the BBC like a fanciful interior decorator coming in and saying, well, we can brighten the place up, you see, shove a couple of creepers up your trellis. If those sort of lines are given to me, I try to make them as entertaining as possible. I mean, I don't analyze them in terms of psychology.
Action. Getting cold in here. Should we go into summer house and warm up a bit?
Oh, no. I've heard what happens to girls who go into summer houses with men.
Well, good. That should save a bit of time.
But I mustn't. I promised my mother I'd be a good bet.
Believe me, you're the best bet I've seen in years.
Oh, Madge.
The appealing thing about Carry On Henry, like those that have gone before, is that everything in it is strictly for laughs. Nothing but nothing is sacred.
Terry Scott doing Cardinal Wolsey.
Not doing him, no. Oh, that's charming. Oh, no, have a bit of reverence. No, I'm portraying Cardinal Wolsey as best I can.
Is this a happy association with the church?
Bloody hysterical, actually. No, it's, well, I'm trying to do it. But how could you be a serious cardinal and a carry-on lot? Well, we've got some old people working the trucks at the back here, and it's nice to have me around in case anything happens to any of them.
Do you get yourself compromised in this film?
What I do is to pinch one of the girls, bless you, in the opening, yes. In the opening of the film. And but I'm not actually, I'm the only one who gets anywhere.
You're the only one who gets anyone?
If you know what I mean, yes.
So who do you get?
I shouldn't tell you, because otherwise it ruined the picture.
Predictable as the gags in a favourite uncle's time-worn party piece. Sophisticated as the jokes you'll find in a Christmas cracker. But nobody cares, because the unique success of the Carry-Ons stems from the one basic fact that everyone loves a good, vulgar belly laugh.
Oh, no, but I mustn't. I promised my mother I'd be a good bet.
Believe me, you're the best bet I've seen in years.
Oh, Madge.
And these films' success knew no bounds. Every character had a different quality or charm. There was Sid James's absolutely filthy cackle of a laugh, Kenneth Williams' inimitable camp humour, and Bernard Breslau's bumbling buffoonery. Another not-so-subtle little trick was the writer's use of double entendres in the characters' names. I mean, who could forget Frankie Howard as Professor Inigo Tinkle in Carry On Up the Jungle, or Terry Scott as gynecologist Dr. Prod in Carry On Matron.
For the first time in the history of motion pictures comes a story that ignores all conventions, exposes morals, and does irreparable harm to the medical profession. Carry On Matron. It's dynamite when your favourite laughter makers get together again in their own brand of medical madness.
Shh, it's all right, don't scream.
What do you want?
Well, that's very nice of you, but I haven't got the time.
Sidney James, a crook who started at the bottom and stayed there. Kenneth Williams, head of a hospital where it's always wet and windy.
You must have a knee.
I think he's just had one.
Oh, hello.
And as usual, covered in confusion, Charles Hawtrey. Joan Sims, as an expected mother who's never heard of a food-free diet.
Well, now, you're 3 weeks overdue, and your husband's getting very impatient.
Well, he can talk. Took him 7 years to get me pregnant.
Hattie Jakes, the matron, who's not quite with it, but can't do without it.
Certainly not! It's just that I'm a simple woman with simple tastes, and I want to be wooed.
Oh, you can be as rude as you like with me.
Oh, come back, I want you.
My God, she's a sex maniac.
What a carry-on matron. Bernard Breslaw, labouring under a strange misconception.
Oh, what's the matter? Just shows you the power of suggestion. What are you talking about?
Well, I could have sworn I felt it kicking just then.
Kenneth Cope, who took a turn for the nurse. Barbara Windsor, a nurse to raise your hopes and your temperature.
Around here, we call him the taxidermist.
Well, it just shows you there's nothing like advertising. Oh, I didn't mean that. Get off! Get away! Get off! Oh, take your hands off! Take your hands!
A doctor who wanted everything on the national health. Terry Scott.
God, what a woman.
Kenneth Connor, as the railway porter whose wife is like his trains. Always late.
Get him away!
Carry On Matron. Produced by Peter Rogers, directed by Gerald Thomas. The master craftsman of comedy is guaranteed to give you the laugh of a lifetime. If you don't, die laughing.
Oh, love it, there's millions of them, I love it! Wait! Is she at it then?
Could you get me the Guinness Book of Records?
Now, come on, stop messing about.
The Carry On series is still hugely popular today, but the 70s was really the best decade the team had. Audience figures were never higher, but it all came to a rather sad end in 1979 when some bright spark came up with a real turkey of an idea. Carry On Emmanuel was released in 79 and was, quite frankly, not to put too fine a point on it, dreadful. The Carry-Ons were always based around slightly risque humour, but this one pushed it all too far. And although other script ideas were kicking about until the mid-80s, none were picked up. So there we have it, possibly the last great British film genre. It was like a sieve. Austin were losing millions of pounds of our money, and they needed something a bit special to revive their flagging fortunes. And it came in the shape of my next flashback milestone, the Metro. A small and neat city car, the Metro was supposed to replace the Mini, and it didn't. But never mind, it still found its own niche in the market. And after designing the little runaround, Austin came up with a very novel way of naming it. They polled their factory workers, and the top two responses were Metro and Maestro. No prizes for guessing what their next model was called. The name Match was only voted for by workers who wanted the company to go bust, about 5% of them. And the Metro is still going strong today, albeit under a different name, the Rover 100. And the car quite literally saved Austin's backside. Then, surprise, surprise, every model after the Metro was under the same pressure. But at least they're consistent. Every company that has taken over since has made a loss. British Aerospace, BMW, and even those blokes who bought the whole company for a tenner. And they still never managed to replace the Mini.
And with 3 price rises for new cars in 1 year, the car buyer's becoming more discriminating, more concerned to match his car to its intended use and requirements. The Cortina estate reflects the growing swing to estate cars. It's an upmarket version with superior trim and finish, including tinted glass, and a separate wash and wipe system for the big rear window. Cortinas are still among the most popular British cars on the road, and Lord Stokes has no time for the prevailing climate of doom and gloom. Vauxhall's new Viva is a good example of refinements that have been made. 2 completely new bodies, saloon and estate, give notably more passenger space than their predecessors, and they're more powerful too. Each of the 7 new Vivas incorporate a special safety hydraulic braking system and numerous other features to protect passengers in the event of accident. The coil spring suspension gives a smoother ride over rough ground. The makers say many of the refinements are directly due to special testing of the vehicles on their new 700-acre proving ground. The new Viva range certainly made a splash at the show.
The golden rule of dinner parties: never discuss politics or religion. And, as we all know, this rule is usually broken within minutes of the first course arriving. But if you want a guaranteed verbal punch-up, all you need to do really is say just one word: Europe. That 6-letter word can have the soup being thrown and the after-eights not even making it to the table. And we can thank 70s Prime Minister Edward Heath for the hours and hours of dinner party fun. My next flashback is the common market.
This familiar figure, the continental onion seller, is now entering a Britain committed in principle to join his common market. The great parliamentary debate on Europe was fought for 6 days on the floor of the House. Many MPs have described it as the greatest debate in Britain's parliamentary history. Throughout, it looked as though the government would get its majority. But with a large number of MPs from both sides of the House firmly opposed to entry, the outcome remained in some doubt. While MPs made a field day of it inside, demonstrators paraded their opinions outside. But the parliamentary vote was in favour of joining the 6 with a majority of 112 for the government. The result follows years of negotiations between Britain and the common market countries in their Brussels headquarters. Entry could mean that the British may change their shopping habits in favour of the more exotic continental products.
Now, the French have never really forgiven us for Agincourt. They made this perfectly clear when Charles de Gaulle said the word "no" when we tried to join in the 1960s. It all started, of course, back in 1957 when France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg and the Netherlands decided to form a little club whereby they would drop tariffs and trade restrictions between them. It was a cosy little affair and, for a while, was the envy of the rest of Europe. Ted Heath, seeing the potential, desperately wanted to get us in, but not everybody agreed. It was uphill for him in Europe and at home. So nothing really changes there then. Ted didn't have an easy time as Prime Minister either. There was Northern Ireland, the three-day week, and the humiliation of being replaced at the back end of the decade by a woman. But he'll always be known as the PM who took us into Europe. It was a decade of completely varying musical styles. Punk you could go and see in the back of any pub. In fact, it was almost compulsory that the pub had to be as dirty as possible. And if it wasn't before the gig, it certainly was the morning after. Disco was a different kettle of funky fish. The disco, or discotheque, had to be at a people's palace. Chrome, marble pillars, mirrors, vivid colours, and of course, the all-important light rig. Club owners spent millions on the sound and the lighting systems. But that's what it was all about. The sound and the light was where you lost yourself. And London led the way with disco innovation. The best light and sound shows were definitely in our capital city. Hammersmith Palais, once the home of the big bands, was one of the biggest discos in London in the 70s. And then there was the Empire in Leicester Square, which boasted the best light show in Europe. For the world heeled, there were the smaller discos such as Tramp and Annabelle's. London was the disco inferno. In the 80s, Manchester was home to the Hacienda, which made club owners and designers go for a major rethink of the whole scene. Today, London still has some of the best discos or clubs, but it's all changed. The DJs don't talk, but they are gods, commanding fees more akin to those earned by top rock stars. And minimalism is now in, so alas, there's not a strobe light to be seen.
We're starting up, now we're on our way, leaving all our yesterdays behind. Something special that we want to say, happiness is just a state of mind. Flashback to the days when the nights were young. Flashback when we could do no wrong. Flashback we used to dance till the light of dawn. Flashback when our hearts were so strong. Memories of children in the sun. Everybody's looking back, but that don't pay. Can't you see we've only just begun? Flashback to the days when the nights were young. Flashback when we could do no wrong. Flashback we used to dance till the light of dawn. Flashback when our hearts were so strong.
Strange little decade, don't you think? I reckon it suffered from following the 60s. A decade of change, of transition, getting us ready for the explosive 80s. Then again, it did give us disco, glam rock and punk. So maybe I was a bit harsh on the 70s. We did get Star Wars, the Waltons and Happy Days, but we lost Elvis and Lord Lucan while gaining VAT. We started the decade with a 3-day week and lights out at 10 p.m. and ended with the first female Prime Minister, the Iron Lady herself. So, in true flashback tradition, what's my fave flashback? This one might surprise you. It's the last youth movement that could honestly say we've created this ourselves and haven't stolen it from another generation. Punk. God save the Queen. And I'll see you in the next generation.
We're starting up, now we're on our way, leaving all our yesterdays behind. Something special that we want to say. Happiness is just